Hi, my name is Lun Piron Sun, and what I'm working on is the quality of character. And the quality of character assignment that I chose was enthusiastic or enthusiasm. And this is for the MCAA 530 course given by Reverend Dean M. Vessemeyer. To give a little bit of background about myself is I'm a teacher and a health academy instructor for San Bernardino City Unified School District. I teach at Indian Springs High School, and I am the head cross country and track and field coach. My athletic background is that I participated and was a varsity letterman in cross country, track, wrestling, water polo, baseball, football, and volleyball while I was in high school. I competed in cross country and track and field when I was in college. Um, the quality of character that I chose again was enthusiastic, and the Merriam-Webster dictionary defined it as the first, as a noun, basically as enthusiasm. Now, the definition that he provided was that one in 1A, it is a strong excitement of feeling. 1B, something inspiring zeal or fervor. 2A, belief in special revelation of the Holy Spirit. 2B, a religious fanatic. Now, in terms of my definition, basically of what I think enthusiastic or enthusiasm is, it's being happy and joyful and demonstrating gratitude towards what you have and what you're doing. Now, I approach this in two prongs. The first one is a teaching approach. I've always felt that we're basically a reflect, or the classroom and our student athletes and such are always like a reflection of who we are, and we're the steward of the ship. So we dictate the environment that we are in charge of. And the students that we are basically blessed to, guide, to lead and such, they typically would emulate or reciprocate the teaching basically of our moral principles and such. And with everything we do in our character and such, we want to approach it in a manner to where, like, you're having fun, you enjoy it. And when you come into work and you teach your student athletes that, or when you teach your student that, hey, there's enjoyment to what we do, we should have gratitude and such towards it. It creates this bond and such and trust that you have like among the students. And not necessarily the students, but it makes it more like for an overall general environment to where, like, when you come into work or when you come into practice, you want to be there when everybody's happy, everybody's joyful, and everybody's glad to be there. For me personally, I've always felt that, for any student athletes and such, I don't like to go to chase after them. Meaning, like, if they want to be on the team, they want to be there. Because the reason why is that they're only going to get an opportunity to be 14, 15, 16, or 17 years old once. And for them to be a part of my team, I want to make sure there's some joy, there's some excitement, such that goes along with it. Because the 2 to 3 hours that we spend each day at practice, whether it's 2 to 3 hours of something that's productive, that causes them basically to build on their character to where they become better, productive members of society, or if they were to waste it because they don't want to be there, it's still 2 hours of their life that they're never going to get back. And that's why I always make it a point to make the practices enjoyable, make their experience as fun and such as possible. Because, with athletics, with sports and such, it's meant to be fun. It's meant to, well, with sports and everything, it was initially started of games and such that we would play, as children and things like that in the backyard. And with the hype machine and the media and everything else, it just became or just become what it is today, to where, like, now it's like a revenue generating entity or entertainment like value and such. In terms of as a coach, or in terms of the quality of character in which coaching and such, for coaching, basically, to quote the national, to coach, not to quote basically Ewing and Seafelt in 1990. The top reason why people get into sports is this: they want it to be fun. And, as they're getting into the sport, they want to improve on their skills. They want to enjoy the excitement and such of competition. And according to the National Federation of High School Sports, typically only 2% of national, or not national, I'm sorry, of the NCAA student athletes go on to become professional athletes. And in addition, how I approach my team as well, I go along with the saying of what Bobby Knight um, once said. He mentioned that 98%, or I'm sorry, 99% of students typically do not go and compete in college, but 99% of them can go to college. And this has always ring true to me because this is my approach basically to coaching, to where I've always felt that 99% of my students will not compete in college, and but 99% of them can go to college. I've been fortunate enough to where like a lot of my student athletes, they do go off and they do compete in college, or at least if they make the varsity team and such, they typically are good enough, or we develop them enough to where like we could reach out and have enough networking to where we contact college coaches and such for them to be able to compete in college. And part of the reason why they do develop, and there is that foundational element in such of them basically enjoying what they do and wanting to go on, is enthusiasm. They when they come into practice and such, they're very enthusiastic in terms of what they want to do and what they want to accomplish. Now, going back to the research by Ewing and Seafelt in 1990, some of the top reasons why people would quit participating in college, especially youth athletes and such that begin so young, is that they no longer have fun. They lose interest, and typically sports take up a lot of your time. Now, if it takes up so much of your time, what you want to do is you want to make sure basically that you enjoy what you do. And that's why I picked enthusiasm and enthusiastic as being one of the main quality of characters that I would want to build my team and such around. In addition, in Brown v. 2003, in the book Developing a Positive Legacy, on page 24, there was a quote that basically it strikes to the heart. And it states that good coaches talk about their expectation because these coaches are strong enough to confront incorrect behavior and half efforts, and therefore get the love and respect of their athlete. Just as what I talked about recently, where our students will emulate and they will mold and conform basically to the environment such that we could create for them. When we approach our craft in an enthusiastic manner, they're going to emulate that characteristics, and they're going to want to be part of it. Just as in 1 John 3:16, this is, or by this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we out to lay our lives for the brothers. And we should be so selfless. Well, what it means to me is that us as coaches and such, and as a leadership figure, should be so selfless to where like we sacrifice basically for the good of the team and such per se, is what it means to me. And ultimately, in conclusion, our family, well, the team and such that we coach often becomes our second family. And what we want to do is, just as we're raising our children and such at home to be better, productive members of society, when we are hired to teach, when we are hired to coach, that it's not just us having a profession. Our profession is a lot different than most that are out there. We have an obligation to have a sense of not necessarily power, but we have this Well, we have an urgency basically to mold our community. The student athletes and the students that come under our care will go off into the real world. They're going to make up the community and such that we're in. And if anybody has ever been lucky to coach and to teach long enough, what we've noticed from generation to generation is that these kids, they're going to grow up to have kids. And ultimately, if we stay in the profession of teaching and coaching long enough, we're going to take on the responsibility of helping raising their kids and such as well. So, in closing, what we want to do is we want to make sports fun. And in addition to making it fun, because that it's fun, because that they want to be there, we can instill other factors and such that could make our community a whole lot stronger by implementing discipline, teaching self-efficacy, teaching basically our student athletes how to be more socially and emotionally cognizant of the environment and such around them. But ultimately, it's going to take a village basically to raise a child. And I feel wholeheartedly that if we approach our craft in an enthusiastic manner, we're going to help to develop a more positive community within where we live. Thank you.